Good afternoon, and I am so honored to be standing here and actually saying this. Welcome to my TED Talk. Okay, so I would just cut straight to the problem. To me, pain is such an underrated emotion. You know, your world's view is made of comparisons, right? The good, the bad, light and darkness, black and white. So imagine a world where there is no darkness. How would you define light? Or a world where no one's the bad guy, then what is it that really makes you good? The spectrum of everything goes from one side to another, right? And the same applies for your emotions. I think it's the whole beauty of life, where the two extremes, they go together and they meet somewhere in the middle to create the perfect balance of yin and yang. As a fair ruler of my feelings, I feel like it's so unfair that people are so eager to praise all of their good times, but they just look past on the bad times, neglecting the fact that there is no such thing as happiness if there is no pain. And so that's why today, I'm bringing my pain to the light as a friend, a companion, and most importantly, an inspiration for my journey in life. Round of applause, please. Okay, so a few things about my relationship with pain. I would describe it as, a love-hate relationship. The part that I hate, pain, mistakes, bad habits, all of the ugly emotions you can ever think of, they exist in every single one of us. They come in different forms, different displays, in different scenarios, and of course, for different people. But the usual approach that I have seen for people to deal with the pain is to just forget about it. You lock it up in a little box, you shove it down where the sun don't shine, and then you will tell yourself to deal with it later. But ladies and gentlemen, I know, and you also know, that later sometimes is just a never in disguise, right? The human body has such a fascinating mechanism of trying to resolve feelings with logic. And it's like you're going to the doctor and you have to rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. But sometimes the pain doesn't exhibit itself like that. Sometimes it can be so subliminal that you're not even going to notice it until something big happens and just slaps you in the face right then. It triggers you. It is so easy to be dependent on that formula, on numbers and statistic to evaluate how much pain you're feeling, whether it's worth it or not. But that is exactly how you suppress your feelings. And the more that the feelings are suppressed, the more that the pain's gonna eat you up inside. It's gonna expand. It's gonna turn into something so much bigger called trauma. So, enough of the explaining. I myself, I didn't deal with pain with being in denial. But I found some way of dealing with it which was just as bad. I considered pain to be an enemy. And I just didn't get over it that easily. I scoured my brain day and night. I was just it was hours of staring at the ceiling, trying to come up with something to justify why I was feeling that heavy. And I found something that really reminds me of those times, which is the lyrics from my own song. Cứ thế mà đi em mặc kệ trong mong lập mờ mặt sang ngồi suy tôi em chân chóc em nằm và đến 1, 2, 3 rồi lại 4, 3, 1, which basically translates into the more that I looked into the problem, it's just more problems I found. Because it was exactly like that. It's like you're digging needles but out of a stack of needles, or you're answering questions but with a bunch of other questions. The more you dig into the hole, it's just more dirt stained on you when you come out of it. And so that is exactly how I hit my first ever rock bottom in life. I was 19. long story short, I was 19. I moved out for the first time one day before the pandemic hit Vietnam. Okay, perfect timing on my end. It was a time of waking up to a slap in the face with a cloud map of problems that I had to deal with. The shortage of money, of food, of masks, of toilet paper. It's just a constant painful energy surrounding the globe back then. And to me, that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part is when I start to feel like my creativity is running out. I know it doesn't sound that serious, right? But to me, as an artist, art is my language. It's how I communicate. It's how I present myself and adapt myself to the world. And so when something as heavy as that happened, I found myself at a chokehold because I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything to actually get myself into the outside world. And I finally found myself in an identity crisis. It took me so many years to overcome those dark days. And that explains the disappearance of Nun from the music industry for 4 years. People kept telling me back then, I was skipping through my prime years. I was wasting my time. I could have made anything out of the shows, the deals, the brands, all of that. I could have been something much bigger than I am right now. But little did they know, what they saw was just the surface. They see me smiling, but smiling is my job. Being entertaining is my job. Keeping the positive energy up is my job. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm at peace doing so. I felt like I didn't deserve the spotlight. I felt like everything I put out was just a facade of how I wished people would see me. But it was not real. The only thing that was real back then was pain. I was fighting my demons, okay? I was just dissecting it into pieces. I'm trying to find just something, just a little something to justify just a reasonable explanation to the question of why. Why is this happening? Why me? Why this feeling? But then it hit me. That's life. Sometimes the questions are rhetorical. You're not meant to find the answer to some questions, and that's okay. Because think of it on the bright side. Sometimes the things that you didn't get might not even be the things that you need. And as the saying goes, once you've hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. And so I had an epiphany back then. If everything I have at that moment was pain, then why not just use it? It's the perfect coping mechanism, right? To keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, and pain was an enemy. Then why not? And just like that, with a snap of a finger, my perspective of pain changed. And surprisingly, so did my pain. I felt like I don't need to be scared of the pain anymore. I felt like I got to not only understand, but I get to feel the saying of every pain is a lesson. And that's my whole journey of actually forming a bond with my pain. I started to feel the equality for my emotions, right? The sadness, the anger, the happiness, or simply pain. I feel like I should be... Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel like I should be doing something with it. I feel like I am the producer, the creator, and also the consumer of all of it. So I decided to take my pain, ask myself the question, what would I do with it? Okay? So this is just a very simple explanation about my character. I present myself as a pessimistically optimistic type of person. And I'm actually proud that I got to live by that point of view. I feel like the phrase of loving yourself is always so overused because once you actually have to do it, it takes so much effort. It takes sweat and tears, and especially the constant feeling of being selfish when you have to put yourself first. And as said, being an artist, I always have to keep my composure. I always have to keep being mindful, being demure towards everything to actually survive in the constant change of creativity. And having a strong mentality is the key to me getting the job done. So of course, I don't have time. I don't have time to be dwelling in my pain or just going straight into the spiral. So after all the experimentation that I found to deal with my pain, I found something so magical yet so cynical. I found a little something called tough love. That being said, I would rather take a straight dive into the problem, swim with the sharks. I would risk the fact that I would not make it out rather than just indulging my weakness and have pain take advantage of me. Because at least if I lose that battle, I would have more experience to win the war. And so, during the years of my hiatus, I sat down face to face with pain and we negotiated the terms of our relationship. It sounds a lot like a couples therapy, right? I said that if pain gets to feed off of my time and my energy, at least I have to have something in return. I always wondered why arts portrayed pain as something so dark, so distant, like a gory beast just waiting around the corner trying to consume you. After a while, I found differently. I found that pain is nothing more than a scared little kid that is so in need of attention and acceptance that it had to put on a big outfit to actually force you to acknowledge it. I find that is such a fascinating way of building a character, right? And I decided to have it as my muse, as my material for music. Because if you don't form a bond with your pain, you don't consider pain to be just an emotion, it's always going to be the enemy. It's always going to be in the corner trying to attack you. And so every single songwriting sessions that me and Pain had, it goes pretty smoothly. And I would like to consider it like a symphony with 4 movements. So of course, first of all, the dramatic introduction. Something happens out of the blue, which is no surprise. Pain starts to knock on my door. I invited it in, but still, it leaves me in a bad place. I was crying on the bathroom floor for 2 hours. And then there comes phase 2, which is the white noise, I call it. It's deadly, okay? It's silent, but it's deadly. I start to climb myself back up. I could have chosen any physical freeing movements. I could have punched the wall. I could have just screamed into the abyss, some cathartic screaming. But I chose to pick up my pen and paper. I started to let out the frustration with handwritten words, with doodles and scribbles. And Pain was just standing there, staring at me. So there comes phase 3, the confrontation. I invited Pain to sit down with me, and we start to read back on all the things that I wrote during my anger. And both of us agreed it would be such a waste of gray matter if we just closed this notebook now and just ended right here, right? So what happened? Occupational disease happens. I start to nitpick through my own words. I start to feel like the sadness needs an ambience pad in the back, or the specific type of snare, the specific type of synth. Just building a bed of sounds. And on to phase 4, the grand finale. Here you have a song, a 3-minute listening experience that you cannot possibly imagine how much endless endeavor it had taken to create something so simple yet so powerful. To me, that is how I captured Pain in its rawest form. Because Pain has become an individual with its own point of view, the point of view that I got to understand, I got to sympathize with, and now flourish with. It's starting to grow on me, and surprisingly, it's starting to grow with me. But yes, arts and music was my way, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way to connect with your pain. It can be anything. It could be a long chat with a friend. It could be a long ride, or just simply a good cup of coffee. Because in those dark days, it's really hard to just find a way out. That's like an open gate for you to run through. You have to depend on the little things. You have to crawl through the struggle to actually find the light at the end of the tunnel. So little things do make mountains. So just to recap on my very venting session dressed as a TED Talk, I would like to say this. Life is arbitrary. Not everything is meant for you to put a name on it and just destined it to be something that just based on your point of view. Pain is pain. So, of course, it's your pain. Your pain is yours, and it's your choice to do whatever you want with it. Don't let the word pain to put you at a disadvantage, because it's not something that needs healing or fixing. It changes its form with how you change your perspective. So don't limit your spectacles to prejudice and judgment, especially from others who are benign to your pain. So just peel off the label, see it as it is, because pain doesn't define you. It's what you do with it that really matters. Okay, thank you.